Good morning and welcome to Saturday morning, the 12th of February today. Our devotion is entitled, How Much More a Servant Could He Be? How much more a servant could he be? Based out of Luke 22:14 through 30. The song lyrics are co-written once again with Scott Rowley. Have quite the collaboration going on. On this, their final night, they bicker and they fight. Still, they are slaves to men, but not yet slaves to Christ. He would give up on words, too tired to speak. So he took up the towel and washed their filthy feet. The arguments just melt away, and there was nothing more that they could do, a wordless lesson that would set them free. Tell me, how much more a servant could he be? He took a loaf of bread, he broke it, and he said, Take this, my body, and remember me. He took the final cup, and as he raised it up, the covenant is new, my blood poured out for you. The arguments just melt away, and there was nothing more that they could say. A wordless lesson that would set them free. Tell me, how much more a servant could he be? He is the slave who always serves himself and makes of himself the final meal, lived out in flesh so we could see. Tell me, how much more a servant could he be? He is the wine and bread, too much to comprehend. He leads us from his knees and serves us as a friend. In time, they'd finally hear the message made so clear. Who is the greatest one? It is God's servant son. Luke omits the foot washing, as do all the synoptics, yet in a sense he does not. Himself a slave, Luke's heart would have resonated with Jesus performing the act of the lowliest slave by washing the disciples' feet. But like the others, he can't bring himself to tell the humiliating story. Only John, decades later, will be able to tell it. But Luke gives us the setting, the reason for the foot washing, when no other gospel writer does. He tells us that after the supper, an argument broke out over who was the greatest. He was responding to this argument when John tells us Jesus got up from the meal and proceeded to wash their feet. They argue about who is the greatest, and Jesus responds by demonstrating what true greatness really is: servanthood. After the meal and the foot washing, it appears they never argued about who was the greatest again. Luke gives us one more piece of evidence for what had happened, for the pitiful story he cannot bring himself to tell. In verse 27, in the discussion about true greatness that must have followed the washing of the disciples' feet, he records that Jesus said, I am among you as one who serves. Those are the words of the person who had just washed their feet. Toward the end of the first century, as the rabbinic movement was gaining momentum, it was noticed that some disciples were becoming too admiring of their rabbis. In response, a mandate was issued, quote, Every task that a slave does for his master will a disciple do for his teacher, except one. He shall not loosen the thong of his sandal, unquote. Loosening the sandal was regarded as too demeaning. This might lie behind John the Baptist's statement in Luke 3:16, where he proclaims that he is not even worthy to loosen Jesus' sandal. Given all of that, how much greater is the humility of the one who, more than loosening the sandal, is willing to wash his disciples' feet. Next to the cross itself, it is the chaotic act of the servanthood of Jesus. And only Luke gives us the fingerprints. Have we lost this? Have we lost this sense of servanthood? Have we lost this sense of putting others before ourselves, not looking to be promoted or praised or thought highly of, but just to serve. Not having the kind of argument the disciples had. Who's greatest? It's such a competition, it seems like today, even amongst believers, about the size of my ministry and the number of books I've written and how much am I asked to come and speak around the world. And it's gone to a lot of people's heads in these years, because the love of money can become a problem. Servanthood. Son of Man had no place to lay his head. He just kept serving, even up to and on the cross. And that's who our model is. That's the one we want to be like, I hope. Blessings to you today.